Hello, my name is Joseph O'Connor and I'm the Frank McCourt Professor of Creative Writing here at the University of Limerick. I wanted to tell you a couple of things today about creative writing that have occurred to me over the years from my own practice as a novelist and playwright and journalist, and also in my work as a teacher. And I suppose the most important of the couple of things I would have to say has to do with why we write. What is actually the point of storytelling, and why has storytelling existed in every society that human beings have ever come up with? And I think it's to do with that particular notion called empathy, the quality which makes us interested in knowing what it's like to be somebody else. We're the only species that appears to do this and to have this need. And it seems to be a very profound need in us. Perhaps it's because sometimes it's hard to be us. We're not quite sure what it's like to be us. And so we have this need to step out of ourselves and experience life through the eyes of another person. I think storytelling is a way of preserving that value, and we see it in all sorts of forms of storytelling, from jokes and legends and songs and ballads all the way through to contemporary forms. It seems to be, as the great American writer Tobias Wolff once said, that storytelling is a means of escape from the prison of the self and into the most wonderful adventure that any human being can have, which is to see life through the eyes of another. So when we write, I think we need to keep that value very close to us, and we need to understand that writing and storytelling are not just an expression of the self. You need to be saying something to the reader or the listener about his or her life. The analogy that I would use, I suppose, is that what a storyteller does, what a writer does, is to create the sheet music, and then we hand that to the audience, and it's the audience who sing the song. So it's very important to remember the central role and the central importance of empathy in what we do as storytellers. A story could be defined as a record of the exceptional, or an account of the unusual. It doesn't have to be a huge, big operatic series of events, but a story is a record of a moment when something changed. I mean, if you think about Little Red Riding Hood, there were tens of thousands of days in the life of Little Red Riding Hood when she went through the forest and she delivered the goodies to her granny. And they were fine. They were great days for Little Red Riding Hood, and we don't care about them at all. We care about the day when she disobeyed her mother and she stopped and talked to the wolf. That's a story. So you need to just decide at the beginning, what is the moment when something is going to change, and everything in the story follows and flows from that moment. And the next thing you have to do then, and this is advice that we've all been given from the time we started to write as teenagers, is to avoid the use of cliché. But it's important to know why. You know, apart from the fact that cliches are sloppy and lazy, it's important to understand that cliches actually kill the effect of the language by rendering what you're saying invisible. The first person who ever wrote in a traditional Irish ballad, "Her cheeks were like roses," was a brilliant genius. Nobody had ever thought of doing that before. But when you see that phrase now, it actually has the effect of making that woman invisible, because we've seen that phrase used so many times that our eye just skates over her. There's a different Irish traditional song that has a lyric, "Her cheeks were like blood drops in snow." And that's so much more powerful, so much more visible. Yeats says about his great love, Maud Gonne, that she had beauty like a tightened bow. You know, a beauty that was so intense and powerful that it was almost dangerous. There was an element of menace and electricity and power to it. He says in another poem that she had a mind that nobleness made simple as a fire. You know, these fantastic images that are made of very simple words. It's just that Yeats knows how to put them together in new ways. Colm Tóibín's novel, The Master, opens with a beautiful image of a middle-aged man waking up on a cold winter morning in Dublin and just getting out of bed. And Colm Tóibín writes, he felt like an old door. So you feel the creak and the age of the bones. So, you know, if you're going to use metaphors and images and similes, that you try to make them as new as you can. So if you do these three things, if you write from a spirit of empathy, if you write to try to make something happen, and if you avoid the use of cliches and write in your own voice, try to remember the unique voice that is yours. Human beings have been on this planet for thousands and thousands of years, but you have never been here before. The unique storytelling voice that you have is yours. So try to serve that, try to remember the audience, and if there's anything else that you'd like to know about creative writing here at UL, please don't hesitate to get in touch. So my name is Joseph O'Connor, I'm for UL.